Hi everyone! Welcome to my very first It Gets Better Project ambassador stream on this beautiful channel. My name is elliejoypanic. You can call me Ellie or Elle. I use she, her pronouns. And I am a queer variety content creator and I normally play games over on my channel. Today I am kicking off my game dev live series where I'm going to be chatting with various folks from the games industry, all who are LGBTQIA+, in the hopes that we can hopefully connect you all with these kinds of people and with these people who have roles in all different kinds of disciplines and areas. And today we're talking game production. So in case you aren't familiar with the channel, in case you're new to the It Gets Better project as a whole, this organization helps to uplift, empower, and connect LGBTQIA+ youth and teens around the world to teach them that it does get better. Things do get better. So yes. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce my lovely guests today, my panelists. We have Han and we have Kay. I'm just gonna switch over so that we can see them. Hello, both of you. How are you doing today?
Doing good, doing good.
It's lovely to have you both here. So we have Kay and we have Han, who are both in production in video games. Would you like to introduce yourselves? Kay first, yeah. I guess.
Yeah, so I'm Kay. I am the producer of Tools and DevOps for WWE 2K at Visual Concepts. And it's super fun to be there. Yeah, and I'm non-binary and queer and very excited to be able to do this project. That's my intro.
Hi, I'm Han, Hannah, H, anything that you want to call me, and also any pronouns accepted. I am the lead producer at Zaum, and I am, as I put in my descriptor to Ellie and Kay, a full-time lesbian. Not part-timing it here.
Yeah, you gotta go hard, haven't you? So would you like to get us kicked off, I guess, with a little bit of an intro as to what production is, what production roles mean for you, what kind of your day-to-day entails within the games industry?
Yes, I'll go first, I guess. Yeah, so for me, production, I have a background in release management. Which is like the actual button pressing, and it's very fun, only a little stressful. So for me, as a producer, my job is really to make sure that my team, my programmers, my engineers have everything that they need to actually be able to do their job. I want to support them and make sure they have like any keys that they need, any licenses. I'm of like a mindset that I want to make sure that like nobody has to do crunch or anything like that. I want to make sure that I'm doing my job really well so that everyone feels safe and protected and advocated for. I think that's a really big part of production, is to go around to the rest of the studio and really advocate for your team. And I think that's like most of my day-to-day is a lot of like going into meetings and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree with Kay. I think my favorite parts of production is the problem solving and the puzzle solving. Sometimes people will have the wildest things going wrong, either with their build or with other people, or just in life in general, and you're there to be that support and that help. So very people focused, with the grease in the gears, keeping everything going.
Definitely.
Nice. Yeah, I've always found that production is very much your people. You are the glue that holds the teams together and keeps, like you say, it's the grease that keeps things moving fluidly and smoothly, right? Which is awesome. I've always had such an admiration for production folks because I don't know how you do it. You have to be so...
I don't even know how we do it.
Yeah, fingers in all the pies, paying attention to everything, so... Okay, so how did you both get started in the games industry? Han, let's start with you. How did you get into this?
I like to say accidentally. in that my entire background is in fine art and fine art animation, and that's what I studied at university. 3 times that I went to university to get really good at art, and clearly I'm using it. Whilst I was studying my master's here in Edinburgh, I was getting to the end of it, zero plan what I was going to do with it, still had a lot of time on my lease, so I started looking for a job to help me get some money in and figure out what I was going to do with my life. And one of the jobs I applied for was a QA tester at Rockstar Games. 100% thinking I had no chance because this is one of the biggest companies that I've ever heard of. Like, as the fact that I'd heard of them as well. So I apply, I go in my interview. For about 5 minutes, I tell them what I don't like about Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online, and I get hired. So, if you're ever applying for QA, really QA their games beforehand, apparently it's something that they appreciate. From there, my excessive organizational skills got me a job in production, up until a senior production coordinator, where I decided to become an indie darling and lead for Zaum after Disco Elysium made me sob cry, like that ugly crying when you're also like sweating as well. And that's where I am now.
That's incredible.
Yeah, okay, my turn. Yeah, so I was actually teaching kindergarten. I also have a background in fine arts. I went to a fine arts boarding school called Interlochen up in Michigan. And I went to a really weird state college that I went for just a year. And ended up getting into teaching randomly for Montessori. And I was doing teaching and doing like really short stints on like weird metal tours, and ended up being like, I'm not getting paid a lot of money. You know what makes a lot of money? Game dev. So what I ended up applying for this random role at Epic Games at the time, it was Paragon, and this little tiny game called Fortnite that nobody played it, and working on their player support team, which was really, really fun. Fortnite blew up overnight, and I ended up kind of moving over into like more like management positions for player support, which is really, really fun if anybody's ever interested in like really helping and being involved in like players' daily life. My corgis want to be very involved also. They wanted to let you guys know.
Yes, the corgis are making themselves known today.
Yes, they are. And then from there, I went into release management on the Epic Game Store team. And then I moved over and started working on Minecraft and that release management. And then finally over to like the big 2K family. I'm just like, I'm very much like an organizer, and I love spreadsheets, and I really like the chaos wrangling of taking all of these crazy things and putting them into a really, really good orderly fashion to help people do their job. I get a lot of satisfaction from being able to help. And that's, yeah, like you just kind of fall into it accidentally. I think a lot of people in game dev go that route, which is really cool to hear like where people come from.
It's one of those roles that I always find when people say they want to be a producer, they often don't know what that means, and then people who go in to do other roles often fall into being a producer as a result of being in the studio already. It's always, like you say, you have to have a certain level of passion for the cat herding, don't you? It's like it's just everyone everywhere, and you have to condense it all down and make it something that other people can refer to and go by. So what made you specifically, like, I know Kay, you spoke a little bit about how you got involved in games in particular, but like I'm curious, Han, as to why you chose video games. It's not a space that is, let's say, renowned for being particularly friendly towards women, non-binary folks, gender fluid folks, gender minorities, for lack of a better umbrella for it, and LGBTQIA folks in particular. Like, is there anything that drew you to the space? Because just as a quick example for me, it was the pure passion for video games that got me into it, and I wanted to make a difference from the inside out. So I didn't have role models like me when I went into the industry. So I'm curious if you had anything like that you wanted to talk about.
Love to be the role model for other people who like see somebody like myself and they're like, oh cool, that means that I can do it. So absolutely agree with you there. I also agree that it's the passion and the love of video games. I don't ever watch like E3 or anything like that. I watch streamers reacting to it to see how passionate and in love they are with their game. If I ever see like a streamer falling off his chair in pure joy of something being announced, I'm crying. Once again, second crying mention. It's that real love that I like. I spent some time working in like video game stores, and you'll meet the wildest people who will talk to you. They will talk your ear off about video games because they love them so much.
Yeah, I am one of those people that falls off of chairs getting excited about things. And also, I was one of those people that would talk to you for hours at a video game store. It's just how it is. What sort of you've spoken a little bit, both of you, about the kind of projects that you've worked on. Is there anything in particular within those projects that you're like really proud of? It can be something that you helmed yourself. It could be something that was a particular kind of like win for diversity. It could be something that you had a serious level of involvement in, or it could be something that you kind of stepped up and it was your first like bigger responsibility. Is there anything from your previous experiences that you feel especially proud of?
That's a good question. No, I think working on Minecraft was really, really just rewarding in general. I've been playing since day one. I remember like convincing a friend's parent to be able to borrow their PayPal because that was the only way you could get it. And playing it, so being able to work on that, especially as like a release management, was really great. I really, really liked Minecraft Education Edition. There was a meeting we got to have where kids got to show off like what they were working on and what they were using Minecraft for. And that was just like a very good like gamer moment for me, where I also get really excited to watch people's reactions. I'm on Twitter all the time. I'm talking to all of my friends being like, did you see this? What do you think about it? And like my favorite thing is seeing other people get very excited about things that my friends have worked on. And so being able to see these kids and these teachers use Minecraft in an educational setting was really, really, really cool. And I don't know like how much of a hand I had in that, but it was just really good and heartwarming. I think that that's something like for my career, it's just gonna like stick in my brain and like replay all the time.
For me, it's not so much on the game side of things. Whilst I was at Rockstar, we organized like a first ever proper Rockstar Pride night out, where a bunch of us like all went out to celebrate Pride, got to know each other, got to know our little community inside of the studio. I had people coming up to me that night saying that they were so thankful for it because they'd never felt comfortable being out in their identity in the studio until that moment. And like that is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. It's like one of the best things that I've ever done. And as you say, the change can come from the inside. So people being more comfortable in their identity in any video game company, I think will change the games for the better.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, we just had a subscription. Thank you so much. Folks, you can support both the channel and It Gets Better project directly through donations. There's a lot of amazing streamers who are fundraising this month for Pride. I am one of them, hence why I'm covered in rainbow tattoos right now. So make sure to check out the ambassadors, the partners, the affiliates, and if you'd like to support the channel directly with subscriptions and donations, that is also incredible. Thank you so much. And I'm fielding some questions while you're both chatting, but I love that with regards to you being most proud of like the Pride event. That is something that it resonates with me as well. Like I wish I'd had that at some of my studios and things. It's wonderful to see so many game devs now like coming out and doing Pride celebrations and celebrating various different heritage months and things like that too. It's wonderful to see folks like you championing these sorts of things from within studios, as opposed to it being a very corporate thing that would have been a one tweet thing or something in the past. So genuinely, that makes me like a little bit emotional knowing that that is something that you're seriously proud of. So yeah. I guess we could pivot a little bit now, and I guess it's a little bit of a segue with the Pride stuff, but can you go into a little bit about your gender identities, your journeys, the kind of path that you went on to, I guess, become who you are now, which is a very proud, incredible game dev. Yeah, can you go into that and talk about it a little bit?
Absolutely. I've seen that we've lost Kay just a little bit, so I'll ramble until she gets back. They get back even, sorry. When it came to gender identity, this one's actually quite a new one for me, because when we all got locked up during lockdown over the pandemic-y times, and I realized that I no longer had to like perform any form of gender, then I was like, oh, I don't actually have one, it turns out. I'm more of an amorphous idea of a person than an actual one. So that was how I got to that point. But before, with my sexual identity, that one was a whole work in progress for about 7 years probably, trying to figure it out. For a long time I thought I was bisexual, even though I'm like not even slightly attracted to men, which I think really goes to show how much heteronormativity really gets its claws into you. And you think, oh, I must still, kind of like them. Yeah, I think in terms of game dev, it actually has really helped with these sort of things and helped me explore, because it's opened me up to a community of people who are very open and very happy to talk about these sort of things. And I met the first non-binary people I ever knew in game dev, and learned so much more about like identity through it.
Yeah, it's folks are saying in chat that the lockdowns did absolute wonders for people discovering themselves and learning how to be more comfortable with themselves, because you're in a situation where people can't see you every day, and that's like such an amazing, despite it being awful, despite lockdowns being horrendous, it's such an amazing space for you, finding the space to discover yourself and to learn more about your identity, isn't it? I feel like everybody's gone through some kind of level of discovery through the pandemic, so that's incredible.
Yeah, it's a mixture of lockdown and Dungeons and Dragons that will really get you.
Yes. Yeah, D&D is it's a good one for helping people explore their identities through other characters and being like, well, actually no, that doesn't feel like it's quite right, and I'll try a different one instead now. It's fantastic for that. So Kay, the question was, I'm not sure quite when you disconnected, but the question, well, not really a question. Can you tell us a little bit about like your gender identity and your journey that you went on in your sexuality? And yeah,
man, it's a whole thing. No, I think that also being in game dev and kind of being exposed to queerness and and like gender stuff is definitely something that like helped a lot. I'm from like an extremely tiny town in the middle of Illinois, nowhere, where there just wasn't queerness. Like that is not like a thing that was talked about, or I didn't know any queer people. So as I grew up and I started like becoming an adult and being like, oh, this feels different, this feels weird, like what's going on, it made a lot more sense, especially being in games. There was a lot of games that I played growing up that had queer characters and stuff like that I started like connecting to and kind of like putting the dots together. And as for me, as coming out as non-binary, I was at KatsuCon and hanging out with a friend, and they were like, oh, I go by they them now, and I'm like, what is this thing? And they sat and explained it to me, and I'm like, oh, you know what, that makes so much sense. But yeah, I definitely think that like being in an environment, especially like 2K's been very supportive. They have a lot of like queer advocacy within it, and being kind of surrounded by other queer people, it's been a lot easier to kind of make these journeys, and a lot of self-discovery. And COVID, unfortunately, but it's been a really good time of like self-reflection and sitting by yourself and having to reach out and to these communities across the world, just online. I think it's offered a lot to me in particular. Yeah. It's
That's
been good.
really sweet. Spider-Vice has said in chat that he thinks it's a direct consequence of spending more time with ourselves, which means more self-exploration and reflection. So I guess in a sense, lockdown had its benefits. So yeah, the amount of people that I know that have like realized that they are non-binary or trans, or have realized different like facets of their sexuality and their identity is just astonishing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've found that just from watching people kind of like grow and thrive, people have had the space to experiment with like fashion and style and stuff, and doing different things with your hair, because you're not seeing people every day, so you can do that kind of stuff. Like I sure as hell wouldn't have shaved my head if it weren't for a lockdown, It's like and that's kind of fantastic. The it's provided that opportunity to so many people. So my dog is on the move now as well. So Kay, you mentioned that 2K is really supportive in terms of like supporting the queer staff members that they have and things like that, and folks within the LGBTQIA plus community. Is there anything that you do in particular to, not necessarily within your current role, but is there anything that you do in particular to try to ensure that there is diversity within your content, whether it's showing characters from different backgrounds, or whether it's having characters that are different sexualities, or vetting certain processes? I know for a lot of marginalized folks, we become the DE&I people just kind of by proxy, which is not necessarily fair, but why there should be more marginalized folks within the games industry. Is there anything that you do, or anything that you're proud of, where you've worked to increase the diversity or educate folks within your teams about?
Yeah, I would say a bit. So when I first joined like the 2K umbrella, the first thing I did was kind of join like Wiggy, which is like a Women in Gaming International, but there's a lot of like non-binary people and stuff like that. And I really like the studio versions of these groups. It's very, very cool to kind of be around a lot of other like queer people, and people that aren't just like cis het men. And it's been really cool to like kind of be a part of that and like advocate within 2K. As part of what I work on, all of our characters in our games are real people, but wrestling, I have a wrestling background as well, like used to do pro wrestling, and it's really fun. There's a lot of queerness in wrestling. So it's really cool to like see that kind of come through in characters that are like these real people. So yeah, there's actually like real queer people in our games, which are really, really, really fun. Yeah, it's really cool. I very much enjoy kind of the discussions that happen at 2K. They've got a lot of very active queer channels. They have events that get put together, and it's been really cool.
Nice. Han, how about you?
I'm a strong advocate for the belief that you make better video games because you have a diverse team. So last year I did a talk on like you'll become a better producer not just by like having a diverse team, but also getting to know more diverse people just in your day-to-day life, because those experiences are going to make you, as you said, we're people, so it's going to make you more of a people person. And having those people on your team will also prevent all sorts of mishaps from happening before they get out of the door. So in terms of like making better content, you've got to start with better people. You've got to start with a mix of people from every background that you can possibly find. Because even if you feel like it's not needed, you will be super aware of how much it's needed when you have it.
Yeah, it becomes very apparent the lack of diversity on a project as time goes on. Like I've worked for indie publishers, I've worked on indie titles, I've worked at AAA studios. Like I've seen a whole variety of different production teams and things, and it's it's painfully obvious when, for example, even just something as simple as a woman has not had eyes on something. So yeah, it's fascinating that isn't something that's kind of championed more. So yeah, we do have a question from Fox as well, Fox Prince. They are curious to know about instances where having LGBTQIA plus production members has impacted the game itself, either for yourselves, if you have a personal experience, or things that you've seen teammates do. Like, is there anything off the top of your head that you can think of? For me, it was pushing romance options in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That was like a big thing, making sure that was covered in the marketing, and it was like, you can play however you want to play. And that was something that was people tried to squash it down and didn't want to like show it off. And as a queer person, I was like, no, I want to be able to smooch everyone, please and thank you. So that was something that I personally worked to ensure was still very obvious in the marketing. So yeah, do you have anything that you have directly impacted yourself, or you've seen teammates kind of push through? Kay.
I think I've definitely seen, not on the work I do right now, only because we deal with real characters and real people and real wrestlers. But I do see it, I think, and it makes me really excited to see people kind of push for queerness, people to push for, femme people, trans people, non-binary people in games, and kind of stories and things like that. And I get very excited to see that. Yeah, it's definitely different working with real characters on a sports game. But especially in wrestling, there's a lot of like queerness that's like picked up in that culture, and it's really cool to see it come through with costumes, and WWE's own like pride events that they do, and being able to kind of like push that in our own content. And I think being able to advocate that way is really, really good.
Yeah, I didn't realize that wrestling was quite such a queer thing. I don't think
it is.
Yeah,
it's very queer. It's a very interesting form of like gender expression, which is really fun. It's not something I realized until I started doing it, where you're really expected to like take this idea of gender and presentation and sexuality and like create a giant caricature around it. And I think that it's really, really cool, and to be able to put that in like a video game is also really, really fun to kind of see like this queer culture come through.
Yeah, now I think about it, I'm like, yeah, looking at it from the outside in, of course it's queer. Like, of course it is. I just never put two and two together with it.
It's very gay.
Yeah, chat is agreeing right now. That's super cool though, that you kind of have that base material that you can then lean into, so it's not even like it's something that has to be pushed for or necessarily like fought for. It is inherently a part of what you're doing and a part of the not even the creative process, because you're basing it on real people. That's awesome, honestly.
That's very fun.
So is there anything within the games industry, any like groups that you're a part of, any events that you've been to? I know that you spoke a little bit about Pride, Han. Is there anything that's stood out to you as specifically as a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, in terms of organizations or events or groups? So this could be something that is super intersectional. It could be something that is focused more specifically on the facets of your gender identity or your sexuality. Yeah, is there anything that you have found to be beneficial to you that either you'd like to share with budding game devs or folks that are new to the industry, or just something that you found comfort in?
It Gets Better is already one of them, so thumbs up to those guys. Out Making Games as another one, who are doing wonderful things. And then I'm trying to be active in POC and Play, who as a member of the LGBT plus community, and that intersectionalism with all these people of color, they're extremely good about it, and they're very open to a lot of discussions and a lot of different types of identity within the group. So they're excellent too. Those are my favorites anyway. Don't tell the others.
Is there anything in particular that's like stood out about those groups that has made you think, yes, these are the good ones, kind of thing?
I get just like a great vibe from people. Like you're just immediately like, oh, I know that I'm not going to have any issues with you. That is really like the way that I have got this. I also want to mention that Develop has been doing like so many more LGBTQ things. They've got a roundtable this year at Develop and many other conversations about like hiring for minorities and uplifting women in the community. So they've also done loads of great stuff.
That's a good one. Yeah, I would say that like I've always been a fan of It Gets Better. It's something that like when I was younger, it definitely helped me and made me feel a lot better, you know, especially coming from a very small town where I was like, what is gay? I don't know what that is. Yeah, I'm very involved in like the game dev Twitter community, and I think that there's a lot of queerness in game dev, which is great. And so finding these other you know, the game development community on Twitter has been really, really, really helpful. I also was able to go to the Lesbians in Tech Summit, Lesbians Who Tech, yes. And that was a really, really cool opportunity to kind of see, you know, as like a tech adjacent person, to be able to go to this event and listen to these talks from other like queer people, you know, and hear like these like little programming things and give support to especially you know, people that want to start to go into tech, want to go into games, and it's been a really cool thing to watch that happen. There's a lot of really good Discord groups out there, but I think, yeah, most of my stuff has come from like Twitter and cultivating that community on there.
Yeah, Twitter has been an absolute godsend for people, I think. It's how I personally got into queer game dev circles, because I kind of had like queer circles and I had game dev circles, and Twitter just like mashed them all together. And even just like simply just putting out a call for this live stream series, it was kind of overwhelming, the response that I got, because there is so many people out there who want to help make things easier for folks coming up in the industry and want to help cultivate these spaces and protect them and care for them, you know? So yeah, if you're not on Twitter and you want to be a game dev, get on there.
It's the place, it really is.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I've made so many lifelong friends through game dev Twitter, most of them queer too. So we have a question from Claus in the audience. What has been your experience having multiple LGBTQ plus people that you get to work with, and how have you like grown together? How has it helped you grow and thrive? And is there anything that stood out to you as being a part of an LGBTQIA plus team, loosely?
I think there's a lot of just good support.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're a community, you're a community. If there's something which is bothering everybody, you know that you've got all those people that are going to back you up. You know that you've got people who've got your side no matter what. It's the support. You can't beat it.
Yeah, it's and growing together and being able to like kind of have those conversations, where you're just like, hey, like this is a thing. Am I like we're on the same page here? Yeah, the support is outstanding. And it just makes you feel really good.
I think you meet so many people because there's it should be obvious that video games attract queer people. I mean, you can choose whoever you want to play as. It's for people who, you know, maybe didn't get on with the it crowds when they were kids and ended up playing video games and realized more about themselves, and that it's a place for us, really. And when you get to realize that and you get that community, then it's a great feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've noticed more and more, that now that games are becoming more diverse due to more diverse folks working on them, more people are finding out things about themselves because they're seeing themselves represented in this media. And it's something that I feel very, very strongly about, having worked at multiple studios that are very I don't want to say keeping on the straight and narrow, but very like there's no kind of diversion from what they know and what they want. So to then have all these different people making all these different things is just incredible to me, that there is so much diversity out there now, and it's only increasing. And we're seeing a lot of AAA devs are being called upon to start doing this sort of stuff because it's resonating with so many people. Like, think about some of the indie games that have released recently-ish with representation, things like Boyfriend Dungeon and stuff, having so much diversity and so much representation in the game. And as a consequence, more people are buying it and more people are talking about it and discovering things about themselves. And that's incredible. So
yeah, I was just about to bring up Boyfriend Dungeon, which I think was just a really fun, like, I don't know, I felt very comfortable and very happy, and unpacking especially. I think that's a game that, like, I remember crying of just like being so happy and just sitting there and being like, I see myself, and it's not anything big or different or like, oh, it's this. It was very much like, here it is, just like everybody else. And there's moments in that game that I think really resonated with me, and I'm really going more into playing like more queer games and stuff like that. And yeah, unpacking really, it got me.
I loved unpacking, and as you say,
so
it was
good.
so subtle about it. It was just the little things, and you'd be like, "Oh,
You're
this
like,
means
is
so
it-
much to me."
Yeah, there's so much in games that I think, yeah, queer games they're fantastic. They're really good.
it's
They're
one
the
that
best
I've been
ones.
told I need to stream. It's like, I've had
Yes.
it for so long, and
Do
everyone
it.
says, no, you have to stream it. I want to see your reaction to it. So
Do it and cry. Ugly cry.
I get really overwhelmed about, maybe you have specific examples of this too, but I get really overwhelmed when there's just like little tiny things that are nods to struggles that I've had as a queer woman, or, you know, somebody succeeding when it's something that is so minor, but you don't see it very often, you know. I can't think of any specifically in games right now, but things like, even though The Last of Us Part 2 it's a whole thing about people are unsure if it's a bury your gays trope or not kind of thing. Just the sheer fact that it doesn't focus on Ellie being gay. It's just a part of her identity that is like, okay, yeah, let's move on. Let's just carry on and give her a story that's not revolving around that. And seeing things like that, just, it makes me happy, like having queer representation and stuff. So
the very subtle queerness in Disco Elysium also, it was something that and not to spoiler, but it was something that when it happened, I like sat there and I said, this is the exact moment where I also, like, that thought process was the exact way that I realized I was queer, where you were like, why do I want to talk to this person? So what is this feeling? What is this? And I think that the subtleness, the regular life of it was very good.
Yeah, I know, like, there's a moment in Disco Elysium where I think there's a line that's similar, like, or I think it's what I thought about it was like, yeah, straight people don't have a 20-hour mind project on are they gay or not.
They don't. Yeah, there's just so much, especially with all of these things. In Disco, and especially there's very good representation that's very subtle, and that queer journey that's just like just a little bit, where I was like, no, that's what it is. It's just these small little moments, and when you see these in games, when you see them in Unpacking, when you see them in Boyfriend Dungeon and Disco Elysium, you're like, oh, yes, that is me. That is what it is.
See, I love I've just thought of like an amazing example. I really love the super subtle kind of like, almost like educational moments where it's something that people might not have necessarily realized, but you kind of adopt it and you pick it up without thinking. And Outer Wilds is one for me, that the race that you play as in Outer Wilds, they're aliens, it's in space, you know. They are not gendered. They all use they them pronouns. You refer to them as they. They all have names, they all have personalities, they have adventures, they have lives, they have stories and journeys, and no one in that game is gendered at all, and that is incredible. And I think it's one of those things that just having queer folks on dev teams to make that kind of stuff happen, where it's like, well, why do they need a gender, you know, is fantastic. So we have had a question from Ms. Huffle in the audience, that I am okay to answer this because I am not in game dev anymore. But she's asked, where do you come down on playing and supporting games from AAA devs who exploit tons of queer folks but are super problematic? So having, I don't want to take up too much time from the panelists, but having been in, I worked at Ubisoft for nearly 4 years, and working on Assassin's Creed, on the franchise, and attempting to push diversity and have characters that are express different facets of being marginalized, you know, having different identities within the games. It's a really difficult line to draw where you kind of fall on it, and it's very much a case-by-case basis in terms of the project, in terms of the studio, in terms of your own personal feelings on things. And I know that there is a lot of folks who will express a very hard line on certain stuff without kind of going into specific games. There's big franchises that are coming out soon that people will not support due to the creators having certain views. And I think it's the one thing that is super important to remember in terms of whether or not you want to support these things is that there are people working on all of these things. And a lot of the teams behind the games, a lot of the folks in the studios do not agree with the views of certain creators or certain executives, or, you know, and they will be working behind the scenes to push for things and might not have the chance to do that. So I appreciate that's a very wishy-washy answer. But having been one of those people who came out and spoke out about Ubisoft and their practices after working there, it was incredibly difficult being in that situation and seeing literally one person high up making decisions and causing this onslaught of distress from the players and from the audiences, because it's really hard. It's really, really difficult to be on the other side of it. But at the same time, don't support things you don't agree with as well. Like, I'm absolutely for empowering people to adopt that kind of ideology too. So very wishy-washy. I don't know. Do either of you want to add anything?
It's wishy-washy. I think that's the thing, especially when you have friends that work on games and you know that they're pushing for things. It's, yeah, because you want to support your friends. You want to know that, like, there are queer people that are working on this. There are people behind the scenes that are really, really, really trying and putting everything that they have into this. They want you to play. They want you to see this story. Yeah, it's definitely a case-by-case basis. I don't think there's an easy answer.
Completely, I agree. I fully respect, like, a lot of respect for people who will cut things out entirely, and I fully respect people who want to continue playing it because it's something that they love. And at the end of the day, like, as you say, it's burying the artist and, like, ignoring the author and all of that is easy when it's an individual. But video games are made by hundreds of thousands of people sometimes, and in there will be people who are trying to represent you and trying to represent everybody better.
Yeah, I think a lot of things that a lot of the audience, as a general term, don't realize that for every marginalized character you get in a game, or every marginalized voice line, you know, from an NPC or something, there will be 10 that will cut. there will be pitches that were sent out to try to make these things happen, and it's like, oh well, okay, but maybe we could only we'll just have one woman in it. And it feels like it's such a futile battle, but there are so many people pushing for this stuff behind the scenes, and it's heartbreaking that it doesn't happen more, which is why we're seeing this kind of upsurgence of indies who are able to just do what they want. They don't have these execs that they have to answer to. They don't have source material from a specific creator that they have to be beholden to. So yeah, it's support the people that you care about within games as much as you feel comfortable doing so, and buy the heck out of those indies that are doing representation well.
Yes.
And
yes.
I know that people think that you're just one voice of many on Twitter, you know, or on social media platforms, on Reddit, whatever platform you use, on Twitch. Support the people that are saying the right things, support the people who are putting action behind the words, and your voice, although it is one, if everybody spoke up, it becomes a movement then. And I can tell you on the sly, I can tell you that social media managers do track sentiment. So if a lot of people voice displeasure of something, it will get back to the managers. So don't pile on people, don't be mean, but do think about how your words can have an impact, because you might just be one person, but one person can make the difference. So
they read everything. They really do.
Yeah. Roxandra has said it's not really possible to give a hard and fast, not wishy-washy answer to a question like that, where it needs a nuanced discussion and a whole ass culture change. You can't really sum that up in a paragraph. Yeah. And I know that there's so many people that are pushing to make that not a thing, so that we don't have to deal with that anymore, and we don't even have to consider something or a studio being problematic. It's like, oh no, I can just buy this game because good people have made it and they want what we want, kind of thing. So yeah. And Fox Prince has said that's a good thing to remember when you see wonderful queer moments and ones clearly directed by marginalized folks. A real person made it and is hyped that it made it into the game.
And it was probably a lot of work to get that in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So much work to put that in there.
Yep. So do you have any, I know we've spoken a lot about like your kind of experiences as a queer game dev, as an LGBTQIA plus game dev. Do you have any words or advice or things you wish you'd known starting out, whether it's for production directly or whether it's as an LGBTQIA plus person in the games industry? What wisdom would you want to impart on new folks?
Be vocal.
Be kind as well. Be vocal.
Yeah.
Yes. Be kind not only to everybody else but to yourself. It can be a very challenging industry and ask a lot for you, and be really, really nice to yourself and everybody that you're working with. No,
Yeah.
not like be walked over, but be understanding.
Yeah, advocate for yourself. I think that's something that I didn't do as much, and as I've gotten older and had other jobs and had a very good, like, supportive community of people who are like, no, you have to advocate for yourself. You can't just let, people say that to you. You can't let that happen. And when you start advocating for yourself, it'll be easier to advocate for others. But yeah, me watching my friends be like, no, that's not okay. I've been like, right, I can do that too. But yeah, be kind, do all the good things.
Yeah, and if I was to speak to myself directly, I would say do less crunch. Han, do less crunch.
Don't do crunch. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, nothing is worth the weeks and weeks of crunch.
Nothing.
I was having a really interesting conversation with my partner last night, he's been in the industry for 10, 12 years now. And he was saying that ultimately, if you break yourself trying to, I don't know, handcraft a table in a game, how many people are going to know that is the asset that you killed yourself for, that you worked yourself to the bone trying to make that a thing? Ultimately, they're going to walk by it and they'll be like, that's a table. And like, it's crunch is such a difficult thing because it's something that everybody, I feel like everyone who works in games puts their heart and soul into it. Everybody wants to make the best thing that anyone has ever made, and ultimately you do have to take care of yourself. And I feel very similarly to the both of you that I wish I'd advocated for myself more, in terms of workload, in terms of my voice being heard, and I feel very strongly about providing spaces for people to have role models, to have people to bounce things off, to have people to ask questions to, because I didn't have that. So that's one of the reasons why I've put together this series, is so that people can see, hey, look, there is people that you can talk to and look up to in this space. So yeah. So we did have a wrestling question that is both wrestling and identity related. So Roxandra asked, with wrestlers like Nyla Rose and Kid Bandit getting more visibility, do you think there'll be more representation of trans and non-binary people within wrestling games and the game dev surrounding that as a result? So
I really hope so. I really hope so. That's something that I'm very excited about. And I see it. I love wrestling. I wrestle, and I get very excited. I'm like, yes, one day maybe they'll be in a game. One day this will happen, depending on like contracts and signing and whatever. But especially people like Tony Storm, and wow, now I can't remember her name. But there's a lot of like very like openly queer wrestlers, and they have it on their gear, and they have things like that, and they get to be in a game. And yeah, I really hope so. I want more queer wrestlers in games.
Do you have either of you, do you have any specific characters that either spoke to you as a queer person, or specific characters that you were like, this is my favorite, I would like to protect them forever, kind of thing?
Yes, it was Clementine in Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Yes.
From game one, I was like, I will protect you, and this is spoilers for the last one, but you can choose to go on a date with the man or a woman in it, so she's canonically bisexual. And when that happened, and you go on a little date under the stars, I was just in pieces. It was beautiful. It was seeing this character who I had loved from the very beginning, and then seeing like how I could relate to her by the very end. I protect her at all costs.
Oh yeah, mine's Osiris from Destiny. I would also break time and space. No, and I there's a lot of like queer characters and stuff. I want to just say like every Skyrim character I've ever made. But yeah, like Osiris really like resonated me with Saint 14, where I was like, that's not a bromance. That is a lot. I mean, I know they've always been written as queer from the beginning, but yeah, I would break time and space and like that amount of like just pure love for somebody. That really like resonated with me. I loved it.
I jumped on our Destiny Discord and was shouting. They wrote poetry to each other.
Yeah, they've been doing it for years. Yeah, everybody in Destiny is very queer. I mean, like, Cade is the chaos bisexual. We all know this. So I was like, yep, that's that. It's been fun. I love Destiny. It's very gay.
I think for me, mine would be Chloe and Max in Life is Strange, because that was like my queer awakening. So I'm like, these two sweet little babies, I will look after them forever. Because yeah, I first played it before I kind of came out, and I realized I was like determined to get them to smooch. I was like, you're gonna smooch, okay? And I would sacrifice everything for her, like it came down to it. I was like, this isn't even a decision, this is like this is just how it has to be. And then not long after, I was like, maybe I'm gay. So if you're playing any like Bethesda game and you're like, I have to romance only these characters, you're like, I'm trying very hard to romance this very specific character, maybe there's some reason. Yes. Now there's Bay over Bay arguments happening in the chat. Fox Prince has said that he would love to see Stephanie Sterling in a wrestling game, so I guess you've got to make that happen now, Kay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Spider-Vice has said, I think this Life is Strange was a moment of awakening for so many people, especially because of how good the writing was and the whole Max and Chloe dynamic. Because if you're not familiar with Life is Strange, the very first game you play as a teenage girl who was moved back to a small town where she grew up, and she reconnects with her best friend, and there is options for to play Max as either romancing Chloe or romancing her male friend, basically, and you can do both at the same time. Like you can go down both avenues, but it was the first game that I personally played where I was like, oh, there's like queer options in this game, and this is incredible. So I know that it's not like necessarily ahead of its time for that, but the fact that it was such a heartfelt story really spoke to me, alongside it not just being like, oh, I'm gonna make the choices to go off and romance one of 15 people, you know. And I think a lot of people feel the same about like Mass Effect and stuff, and the flexibility within Mass Effect and BioWare games too, and Dragon Age. So
yeah, Hades also is very. Oh yeah. That's a good one.
Yes. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss? Anything that you feel like people might not necessarily realize about like production in a general sense, like about maybe how people could work to get into production, if that's something that they're interested in?
It's worth it.
It is worth it. I think if you were that kid at school that memorized everyone's birthdays and had them in a special little chart or a spreadsheet, you might want to join a production team.
Yeah. I think that like also if you have this like intrinsic need to help people and you really like to see other people succeed, if that gives you joy, production is the place. Also, if you're very nosy. I'm a very nosy person. If you're very nosy, go into release management. You will find out everything. It is the best job for anybody that likes to know things.
I will warn people that like, production doesn't have the biggest creative push out of all of the departments. We're here to support. We're here to help make decisions, but we're not the decision makers.
Yeah, it's not a creative-led role, is it? I was in marketing production, so it was like a weird kind of middle ground. So I got to lead the marketing stuff and make decisions on it, but that's just because we were a tiny team, and as a consequence got to have my fingers in everything in the development side and help sort of nudge things in the right direction with that. But yeah, it's very much an organizational role as opposed to it being a directly creative role. But it's still, I was aiming to sort of go into the production side of things. Like you say, once you realize that you are a production person or you're not, like, yeah.
Yeah, if you go places and you're like, I feel like I could do this better, you're gonna be a producer. That's yeah. It's like in your mind, you're like,
And hey, we're hiring producers. It's I'm plugging that.
Yeah. We're hiring.
Please come work with me. I would love more queer people to work with, please.
Yes.
Yeah, if folks who are watching, if you're ever interested in getting into game dev, if you ever want to connect with people, seriously, I said this earlier, get on Twitter and meet some queer game devs. And generally, one thing that I've always tried to say to people is that I was so scared to start talking to people in the games industry, and I wish I'd started doing it sooner. Everybody is just a weird nerd in the best way. You might feel like people are like celebrity level or whatever, but once you get in a studio, once you get to know people, everybody's just weird and likes video games, and that's fine. So start talking with people, because in general, studios are looking for more diverse people to hire and more diverse people to be on their teams and things, because folks are starting to realize that diversity is what makes games good and what brings something different to the table, quite literally, and could set your game apart from others. So do shoot your shot, and there's loads of folks who will help read over resumes and things. There's loads of organizations that you can sign up to for like women in games, and within LGBTQIA plus circles there's loads of like mentorship schemes. There's like Pixels in Montreal, there's Wiggy, there's one in the UK that I'm trying to think of, Code Coven. There's all sorts. So get in touch with those folks, even if you're just kind of, you have a passing interest and you want to learn more. There's the Cal Women in Gaming group as well. That's a big one that's kind of growing now. So yeah, and chat with people, support these sorts of things where you can learn more about people. So yeah. Is there any other questions from the audience? Would anybody else like to ask any questions before we let Han and Kay go?
It's only somebody in the chat asked if my tiger is real, and yes, he is.
Excellent.
Best
Good
question. Skotar has said about Tell Me Why being a fantastic queer game. That's one of the first games I think that has like some serious trans representation, which is again amazing.
I know somebody who played Tell Me Why, and then about a month later came out as non-binary from playing it. So it's another one of those, oh, I'm queer from playing video games experiences.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and trying to spend hours getting Zagreus and various characters together in Hades as well. Like, the fact that you have to repeatedly go through Hades to keep meeting these people, it's like, I will do it. I will just keep going. You want it that badly that you're just playing the same loop over and over again. Yeah. So Claus has said no questions, but they appreciate Kay and Han taking the time to answer questions and share their experiences. So I think we will wrap up here with the panel. I will take a little break and then I will carry on streaming afterwards. I super appreciate you both coming on. It's been incredible chatting to you both. Thank you so much for being the guinea pigs for this first episode. Do you want to do a little plug, both of you? Where can people find you? What projects are you working on right now that you're allowed to share? And where should people connect with you in the future? Kay. Sorry.
Yes. So I am on Twitter at Deerston. It's a lot of memes, but it's a good time. A lot of memes, a lot of metal, a lot of queer game dev stuff. So feel free to follow me or reach out to me on there. I love talking to people. And that's kind of like the best place to find me while you're going to hear about me working on WWE.
Yeah, I'm also on Twitter. My username is a monstrosity.
Sorry, I put it in chat.
Yeah, I'll be put in chat. It's on Twitter itself. I'm so sorry. It's years old. I can't talk about what I'm currently working on, but we are working on some wonderful stuff that's out on Play Disco Elysium. You'll have the time of your life. And yeah, that's about
fully
it.
voice acted now, right?
Fully voice acted, and the guy who does the narration, I met him at a company event the other day. He is the soundest person. I love him, and he has the single best voice in the entire world. So
Okay, well, thank you both so much again. I honestly cannot express how grateful I am to you for both trusting me to do this and coming on and sharing your experiences and your stories. It's incredible. Thank you. And I will catch you both soon, I guess. I'm gonna go to a break while I wrap up all of this stuff, and then I will be back on the channel to chat a little bit more about my experiences, and we can talk queer gaming stuff. So yes.
Thank you so much, Ellie.
No, thank you. Seriously. Hello, I have returned. Thank you all so much for bearing with me while I was getting refreshed and saying goodbye to Kay and Han. I appreciate everyone's questions immensely. Seriously, it's been incredible chatting with them both. I'm super excited for the future of this series, like everything that we have planned and everything. I can't wait. We have so many fun things going on over the next few months. Not only with my game dev series, but also with like other ambassadors as well who are streaming on the channel. There's so many incredible folks doing incredible things. And I'm super excited to see what everyone has in store. They are super, super lovely. I'm so glad that we got to kick it off with something that is so general, like production. You know, it's I love chatting with fellow game devs. I especially love chatting with queer game devs. It's always enlightening and fascinating, and yes. So we still have about 45 minutes of stream left. We're gonna chat about like queer game stuff, basically, you know? I want to talk about like how just general kind of experiences within video games that you all like, to look for kind of like queer representation, or I don't know, can anyone think of any like specific examples where there's been something very particular that you've been like, yes, I love this is so gay and I'm here for it? But yeah, so over the next few months, we have a variety of different folks that are coming on. I'm going to be hosting 2 streams in July, one in August, one in September, and one in October. We're going to be covering the aspects of game dev that come with art and design. We've got some folks from community roles. We have folks who are general all-around creatives. One is a creative director, one is a lead level designer and game designer, and one is a production and narrative designer. So that'll be super fun. That's happening next month. I have a trio of very bisexual game writers in September as well to celebrate Bi Visibility Day. So yeah, we have all sorts, and I have the devs from an up-and-coming indie game, Himbo Hunter, who are coming on in July too. That we're gonna have the creative director, the composer. So yes, it's gonna be so much fun, so much fun. So I will be like opening up the opportunity for folks to ask questions and things before the events come up, so that you can all submit things and think of questions in advance if you want for specific folks, and you can do a little bit of research ahead of time. Kubo has decided that now is the time that he's gonna give himself a bath behind me, which is fantastic. So yeah, we have so many exciting things planned. I cannot wait. It's gonna be so good. I'm stoked to be chatting to all these different people, and yeah, thank you all for supporting. So okay, so gay games, let's see. Life is Strange was a big one for me. Honestly, Life is Strange, I feel like all of them have been very queer, and that's kind of delightful. Kind of delightful, honestly, that there is so much queer representation in the Don't Nod games in general. So yeah, Borderlands. I haven't played Borderlands. What kind of representation is there in that? I haven't had the chance to play it. I'm not great with like looter shooters. Basically, I get really overwhelmed with the sheer amount of like just inventory management. So yeah, I struggle. I do a big struggle with that. Yes, Himbo Hunter Reclaimer. I'm super excited. I actually met some of the devs at GDC this year. I did some park meetups outside because COVID, you know, and I actually met them at GDC, and that's how they're on this. So that's super exciting. There's bi-pan and gay characters and just a lot of gay rap in the banter. I love that. I love it when it's not like something that is a character defining thing, when it's not like the be all and end all of their character. We love to see like representation in terms of it being a just almost like a throwaway thing. It's just who they are. There's nothing particularly like stand out about that being like, that is why they like, it's not the defining point of their character, you know. I love it when we get that kind of representation in games. So yeah, I absolutely love the game No Longer Home. It was great seeing non-binary representation. Yes, yeah, I really enjoyed playing through that. I liked that it was kind of ethereal and a little bit magical, a little bit weird. It very much felt like playing through a memory, which was really nice. So if you haven't checked out No Longer Home, it's by 2 non-binary game devs. I believe a couple of other people contributed to it, but it was predominantly those 2. And it's a story, it's like a playable interactive story about not quite a coming of age type thing. It's more of a finishing up college and moving on to be an adult and growing up in this strange isometric interactive medium, with some weird elements, some bits that feel a bit like a dream sequence. It's really interesting, really interesting. So do go check that out if you haven't already. I will grab it on Steam for you so that you can get the link, because, you know, I'm all about providing people with the ability to check stuff out. It's $14.99. There you go. I also absolutely love Celeste. One of my favorite games ever. Is Celeste a gay game? I didn't know. Celeste is one of those that I've had on my radar for so long now, because I've been like, so many people told me to play it after I played Hollow Knight, and I think I would drive myself up the wall trying to beat it, honestly. I think it would be too much for me. I own it. This is the worst part. I own it. And I know that it's a game that deals with topics surrounding like mental health and things, so yeah. The boy is like out cold right now. He's like, don't know if I can zoom out more. No, I can't. I can do this though. Hold on. Would you like to see my little boy? There he is. He is fast asleep. Is it not letting me post a link? Am I not a mod? I'm not mod. It's censored for us. It's because I'm not a mod on the channel for some reason. That's interesting. It's censored for us. Fox, maybe I can send them to you and you can post them. There you go. There's Celeste. There's No Longer Home. Madeline from Celeste is trans? Oh wow, I didn't realize. I genuinely had no idea. But I love that that's the thing, that it's like, it's not like the game is about trans folks or the trans community or about a trans character. It's just something that just happens to be a part of who they are, you know? Thank you, Fox. I'll have to get that sorted for next time. I didn't even realize. I hadn't clocked it. Okay, so Kate, it deals with found family, birth family, and immigration. Is that No Longer Home? Also, Skotar, I know that the Souls series was my big realization that practically every character I made, plus roaming around the world and discovering myself. Yeah, it's always interesting to see folks who are like, oh no, I want to play a girl and like everything, or I want to play someone that looks more androgynous, or I want to play someone that looks masc but dresses femme, you know, like being able to explore those kind of identity like aspects of your identity is super cool. This is why, like, when Hannah and Kay mentioned D&D, like D&D is a huge platform for people to be able to explore their identities, and it's fantastic. It's great. Any tabletop RPGs, honestly. My comment was regarding No Longer Home. Yeah, it was a really interesting game. You can complete it in one sitting. It's only about 2.5 hours long or something. it's fascinating. It's a semi-autobiographical game, which is cool. I try my best to make any game I'm playing as gay as possible. Ooh, the blog post for Celeste. Thank you, Fox, for posting that. Also, I want to say thank you again to everyone that asked such interesting questions and such like thoughtful questions as well, and for the thoughtful discussion topics and things. It's a pleasure getting those questions from you all. Sulky, I'm not a mod. Can you make me a mod, please? Hi Mika, how are you doing? So yeah, we're just gonna talk about gay stuff for a bit. Talk about gay games. I am very much in the camp of trying to make things as gay as possible too. Like, I know that I mentioned this before, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey was a huge deal for me. I was like, Cassandra will smooch everybody. I do the same in The Witcher. I'm like, Geralt must smooch everyone. I'm very, very into headcanons and stuff as well, and it's great. Thank you, Fierce. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone supporting the channel as well. It's seriously, it's wonderful to see you all. Thank you so much for the subscriptions and stuff. If you'd like to help support the It Gets Better project, you can subscribe, you can cheer, you can donate directly, you can fundraise yourself, like you can set up a fundraiser yourself. You can also support in a non-monetary way by spreading information about the It Gets Better project. You can share the videos that are on the website. You can encourage people to tune into these live streams. We have a bunch of ambassadors who are all streaming across the next however many months, not just me. And there's so many affiliates and partners who are fundraising and things as well, which is super, super cool. So thank you, Sulky. I tried to post a link and it was like, no. I didn't know there was a consequence for trying to smooch everyone in The Witcher 3. Yes. There is a big consequence for it. Also, Fierce, thank you. No, thank you. I'm so proud of the fact that we've been able to partner with the It Gets Better project. Not only myself, so I'm an ambassador. As you can see, I'm an ambassador. My t-shirt says so it must be true. And I am one of the team leads and co-founders of Cosmic Hearts, which is a charity-focused stream team, and we are fundraising all month for the It Gets Better project. We are partnered with this wonderful organization, and we have some amazing folks streaming across the month and beyond. And this week is our big fundraising push. So yeah. I'm super excited for Fall Guys at the weekend as well. Super excited for that. There's a bunch of folks are making Sims builds, queer Sims builds for a neighborhood that you'll all be able to download in, what is it, a week's time, 2 weeks time? We're gonna have that neighborhood available to download. We're gonna be touring it and stuff. It's gonna be so much fun. There's so many amazing buildings in that. Did we raise enough for crowd control Fall Guys? Yes. So folks are doing crowd control streams as well. I'm gonna be doing crowd control Fall Guys at the weekend. Yeah, it's great. I'm so proud of everything that folks are doing, and through it being an LGBTQIA plus focused charity, an organization, people are speaking more about their journeys and their identities and sharing things. And honestly, it's never about, for Pride Month fundraisers, it's never about raising money for me. It's never about managing to raise a huge amount of money. It's about making sure that queer folks know that they are loved, making sure they know that they are appreciated and that they are safe in online spaces, certain online spaces, and encouraging people to be true to themselves and explore their identities and connect with people. So the fact that the It Gets Better project directly aligns with that kind of ideology is great for me. I love it. It is going to be a lot of fun. It is. Can't wait for the tour. Yes. Hi Mocho, how are you doing? How are you? That went really well and I hope you get to do more. Funny you should say that, Dakin. Funny you should say that. Wait, do you mean the partnership or do you mean the stream? Because I have two more of these game dev panels next month. 2 in a week actually. 2 in a week at the end of July. So yes. The stream, thank you, Dakin, thank you. Good Mocho, I'm glad. Yeah, so we're gonna be in July, we're gonna be talking to the Himbo Hunter team, and we're going to be also chatting with a few game dev creatives. I'm gonna refer to them as like level designers, creative directors, audio directors, writers. It's kind of a combination of people who wear multiple hats. It kind of just worked out really nicely that I had a few people that fit in that bracket. So we'll be chatting about their identities and their journeys and their experiences in game dev and stuff as well. I'm excited for them. Me too. So yeah, I need to work out what other questions I can add into the mix to maximize time with them for sure. It's been a long time since I hosted anything like this and did any of these kinds of chats and stuff, so definitely feels like I'm kind of having to kickstart it again. It's been nice. It's been nice to exercise those muscles again. I'm sorry. My boy he's just like completely out cold. What a baby. What a baby. He's so beautiful. He's been so good. I was expecting him to be a nuisance because my partner is out. Heck yeah. I know you'll do great. C Cooper believes in you too. Yeah, he's in here for encouragement. He's just vibing. But yeah. Oh, now he's awake. All of a sudden. Hi. But yes, make sure to follow the channel. Make sure to, if you want, check out my streams over at elliejoypanic. Can't even shout out Mocho. Mother, you said my name. Yes. But yeah, we're essentially just here. I'll be here every like 3 to 4 weeks ish to talk about queer game dev stuff. So we're gonna have, I tried really, really hard, right? Because I put out a call online about like what I knew I wanted to produce this series, right? I knew that when I became an ambassador, I was like, I want to make a queer game dev series. I want to do that. Like that's my kind of goal. So I put out a call online and I think it was 65 people get in touch. I think it was 65 people. So I had to sift through all of these people and find folks who would A, be available, B, had diverse roles, C, had diverse identities, because I was finding that I was getting a lot of folks, because it would be shared in the same circles, it would like go out to a circle and I'd get 12 people who'd all like banded together to form like a micro community, would all get in touch, and they all shared very similar kind of backgrounds and job roles and things like that. So it was actually really difficult to find a super diverse group of folks, because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just, for example, like I mentioned this earlier. I don't think I mentioned that I am bisexual, but I usually use the words queer or gay to refer to myself, because those are the labels that are like comfy for me. So that's kind of like how I identify. But like, where was I going with this? It's just completely gone from my brain. Oh yeah, so I wanted to have a group of folks that weren't just like me, you know? Like some folks are ambassadors for good reason. They focus on the aspects of their identity that they want to celebrate, and they want to get other people to come and celebrate with them. And I love that, and it's been amazing seeing so much like queer joy on this channel. It's been incredible. Like, if you want more wholesome gay content, follow the channel. There's so many amazing ambassadors doing amazing things. But I wanted to branch out. I didn't want it to be just like bisexual game devs, you know, like I didn't want it to just be white women. So a lot of people placed a lot of trust in me to put together this series, and I didn't want it to be like all white folks taking part. I didn't want it to be all women taking part. I didn't want it to be just one kind of aspect of identities. So I worked really hard to make sure that we have a majority of BIPOC folks on these panels. I worked really hard to make sure that we have representation for like so many different identities. So like we have ace folks, we have gender fluid folks, we have gay folks, lesbian folks, non-binary folks, trans folks, you know, like I have some polyamorous folks on as well. Like I tried so hard, and then within that we have folks that are BIPOC, folks that are neurodivergent, folks that are disabled and chronically ill. I wanted to make sure that, in keeping with the mission of uplifting, empowering, and connecting LGBTQIA+ youth with other members of the community, I wanted to make sure that people can see that it is a whole huge variety of different folks are in games, like a huge variety. And that was like a major part of this for me, was making sure that there was that intersectionality within it. So yes, it's something that I was basically like, I will abandon this idea if I can't make this happen, and I will just do some gaming and just be a queer person on the channel, you know? So I'm really, really pleased that I managed to put it together. It's taken me 2 months. I'm not even kidding. It's taken me nearly 2 months to put all of this together and get it up and running and out the door. And I'm super, super proud. So yes. Many intersections. Great that you did due diligence on finding folks. Yes, it was really important to me. And I had a lot of disappointed people as well, but I'm like, I wish I could have squeezed more people in. I wish I could have had more folks in on this, but I also didn't want to overwhelm myself in amongst all of that. So yeah. I'm proud of me too, Dakin. And I know it's very much like patting myself on the back right now because people haven't seen the results of it, but I'm really excited to introduce you all to these people. Like, I've had the chance to get to know some of them, and I already knew some of them, but I've had the chance to get to know so many amazing folks and connect with so many new people that were like outside of my circles, and I love that. I love it so much. But yeah, I'm actually having like 2 of my best friends on in September, which I'm really excited about, because for some reason I seem to have a lot of bisexual narrative designer friends. I don't know if it's just a case of like, I don't know if it's a case of my partner being in narrative and me being bi, and it's like the mashup of those 2 things has just caused me to know a bunch of people. But yeah, representation is always a good thing. Exactly. You're making the content you want to see. Exactly, Mocho. Yes. And like I say, I always feel like, I don't know, that I'm taking up space. There's this huge kind of aspect, I think, for a lot of queer folks, that they feel like they're taking up space in places that should have more emphasis on other people. And I want to be one of those. I want to be one of those vectors that's like, hey, I have a platform. You want to come on and talk about yourself and like share your experiences with people and like educate folks and introduce more people to people like you and connect with people. Like, I want to be one of those people that is like, hey, yeah, I'm queer and I have a platform. Come and be queer with me and I will give you my platform to use as your soapbox kind of thing. And I love that I'm in a position through the It Gets Better project that I can do that. It's amazing. So yeah, feel like you're using your access and platform for the benefit of others. Absolutely. There's a huge kind of thing within the games industry that a lot of marginalized folks fight so hard to have a presence within game dev, that when they make it, there's an element of, well, I'm up here and I had to work hard to get here, so I'm not going to help you. You have to struggle too. And it's such a sad attitude to have. Like, it's such a sad thing to watch happen, because I'm very much about making my own way up and bringing other people with me. If my friends and my peers and my colleagues don't succeed alongside me, then what have I achieved, you know? And the same goes for within streaming. I'm very much like, you don't even know how proud and emotional I am about Cosmic Hearts and the things that we're achieving. Not even just for this fundraiser, just in general, like having such an amazing space and an amazing group of people it's mind-blowing to me that we have that. I hope you get to meet some great new people through this too. Honestly, Mocho, I already have. It's fantastic. No, you. No, you. But yeah, I'm super excited for the, I guess, like the future of this series. And like, you all stretchy. You a stretchy boy. You a stretchy boy. He is a long lad. Me too, Skirta. Me too. I'm super excited. But yes, basically all of this is to say that I want to help people have what I didn't in the games industry. He is trying to get comfy, he is. Are you an angel baby? Yes. Yeah, I want to be able to provide people with role models and people to look up to that aren't like at an unachievable level, you know? Like, so many people look at games industry folks and think that like, they think that these people are like minor celebrities and they'll never want to talk to them, you know? And there's, when I first started out in the games industry, gosh, 8 years ago now, I didn't have anyone like me to look up to. There was like one person that was a games journalist that I was like, you're really cool. And then other than that, there was like no one in game dev that I knew of that I wanted to be like colleagues with, or I wanted to get to know, or I wanted to talk to. I didn't know of anyone, you know? And games feels like this such an intimidating career path because it is notoriously difficult to get into video games. And I just wanted to make sure that with this series and with these live streams and with this platform that I have, that I can help provide folks with the means to have those connections and to introduce them to normal people in games, because it's been amazing, like connecting with various different groups, like I mentioned the Cal Women in Gaming group earlier. I have been a part of like multiple programs and events with them, and that's like super cool. It's basically a group of university students who they have an interest in getting into games, and they have a mentorship program to help connect people to people in the industry already that are like them and in the career paths that they want to follow, so that they can like have help and have connections and be introduced to people. And you know, I like the current generation that are getting into game dev they are the future. We know this, so the more that I can help with that, the better. And I feel like there's a lot of means for streamers to connect. There's a lot of like streamers definitely find it easier to connect up and chat with folks and meet new people and collaborate and things, but there's this element of detachment with game development that is not necessarily true. Like, it's so easy to meet people in games, and I just want to help kind of usher that along a little bit. So yeah. My coffee is now stone cold. I've been drinking it for what, the last nearly 2 hours? But yeah. I'm just super proud of being able to do this. Dom, hello, how are you doing? How are you? Usher in a cultural change, yeah, like I burnt out hard in games. Like, I was in the games industry for 6 or 7 years, and it reached a point where I was just very, very done, because every day was fighting to make change happen. And this is why I believe so strongly in the indie studios that are like pushing this change out. Like, seriously, I am so proud to see so many people doing amazing things, which is why I'm super excited to talk to, again, all of these folks. Like, there's people from AAA, there's people from indie, the folks from Himbo Hunter, they're literally making a very gay game, and it's great. So being able to help boost those kinds of projects and support those kinds of people is amazing. We need to get you one of those mugs that stays warm. Yeah, probably. Thank you, Rox. I'm a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit emotional about it all. But yeah. Do you all, should we do some live feedback? Do you all have anything that you'd like to see in the future on these panels? Is there anything that like you think would be a good addition? Anything in particular that you felt was missing, that you would have liked to have learned more about while we had Han and Kay available? Oh yeah, Supergiant are hopefully signaling some cultural change. Yes, yeah. I mean, you look at the amount of games like in indie in particular is huge for representation and marginalized folks finding a platform. And it's amazing. And the more we can uplift and support those folks, the better, because then they can expand their teams and continue to make projects that are super diverse, and they can continue to hire new staff who are super diverse, and you know, yeah. The fact that we have this technology resource for streaming, gaming, and so much more, and to meet a diverse range of people to discuss gaming and cultural change with, it's great. Indie studios are really showing the AAAs how it's done. Yeah, look, we can make great games without treating our people like garbage. I mean, it's generally indie games are better. Generally. Not all of them. Oh, my headphones are gonna die. Did you all hear the boop boop? But yeah, if there's anything, you can either suggest it in on Twitter through the It Gets Better Twitter, or through my personal Discord as well. You can suggest ideas for future discussion topics and things. Like I say, the questions that you all had were so thoughtful and so like considerate and interesting. So yeah, I'm super glad that the discussion kind of led to that, you know? It's nice. But yeah, I'm excited for the next one and for the future of this channel, and not just through my involvement. Like, everything that this platform is doing is amazing. So yeah. But yeah, Reclaimer, you are right that generally indie games and indie studios are making games in an achievable, feasible way, and are including so much representation, and are giving marginalized folks a safe space to be creative in as well, I think is a big thing. Because it's not just necessarily about the, I don't know, it's not necessarily about the representation within the game, it's about the people making the games too. Are they safe? Are they happy? Are they heard? Are they respected, you know? And providing people with the means to grow and produce things and be creative and, you know, have their work seen by thousands and thousands of people is fantastic and amazing. Like, it's incredible. It's sad that not treating people like garbage is an aspiration for an entire industry. Yep, it is. It is. But we're getting there. And the more that people like Han and Kay and all the other lovely people that we're going to be having on, the more that people like that are supported and respected and heard, the better games will be as a result. Seriously, the better they'll be as a result. Because like, so many queer folks and marginalized folks burn out in the industry because it can be so difficult. But the more of us that are, the easier it'll be to be in the spaces, because the less they will be able to squash marginalized folks, you know? So, and the more people will be in more senior positions and be in decision-making positions and things. So this is why like all marginalized people in the industry, pretty much, generally marginalized people in the industry, want to see other marginalized folks succeed. And it's amazing, like, that there is those support networks. But yeah, in my very first job, I was the only queer person on the team. My second job, I was the only queer person and the only woman on the team. In fact, on my first job, I was the only woman on the team as well. And then I went freelance for a bit because I was sick of in-house, because I was the only marginalized person on the team. I was literally in an office full of white men. I was the only person. And I went freelance for a bit, which was nice because I got to work on indies, I got to work with diverse folks. And then I joined Ubisoft and was on a team of women, and honestly, it inspired me at Ubisoft to be on a team of women who were all like amazing, like powerhouse women who were just achieving incredible things. And I realized how much I had missed out not having that, you know? And even within the studio, there was women that were seniors and women that were leads and directors and stuff. And like, it was amazing to have people where it was like, oh, these people are respected and they are heard and their opinion and creativity is valued. That means I can do that too, you know? I was on the Assassin's Creed franchise, Skotar, and I worked on Immortals Phoenix Rising as well. So yeah, it was awesome to suddenly find that and be like, wow, I've been missing out on this. So the more people that we can provide that to, the better. And I know that a lot of folks in the industry feel the same way. So yeah. So make sure to, if you are interested in game dev, I know I keep saying this, make sure to connect up with organizations like It Gets Better, organizations like Women in Games, Code Coven, She Plays Games, Cal Women in Gaming, POC in Play, you know, Black Girl Gamers, there's one as well, there's a coding one too, there's all sorts. And generally these organizations are incredible for helping connect people up in the way that the It Gets Better project wants to do too, and is doing too. It's providing people with the means to connect. So yeah. And don't be afraid to reach out to people too. Still wish I had more mentorship where I work. Mentorship is so valuable. There's so many people that I have. I mentor for free. I'm one of those terrible people that's like, I just want to see you succeed, and I'll just mentor someone for free continuously for like months. It's terrible. It's terrible, but I do it on a voluntary basis, and I keep my numbers like low so that I'm not like slammed trying to like help people. No worries, Skotar, I'll catch you soon. And it's been amazing watching so many folks that I've mentored find their way into the industry, because I've been able to connect them up with people who've gotten their first gig, you know? Like, I've helped guide them into like how to put their best foot forward and helped connect them with the right people. And one thing that I will always champion, not just in like the games industry stuff, but in general, is be yourself. Like, there is absolutely no one like you on this planet. No one has exactly... You're right there, buds. No one has exactly your brand of weird, your brand of passion, your enthusiasm, your interests, your skills. Like, be yourself, because there is only one you, and you will find the thing that is right for you. And that kind of goes with everything. Don't be afraid to express yourself differently. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to explore aspects of your personality or your interests or your identity, or, you know, find you and be proud of yourself, you know? Mentorship is so important at all ages and experience levels. Yes, yeah, like my partner is a director level game dev, and he still has, oh my goodness, my blinds getting excited. Really jump. He still like speaks to people and says like, how can I best approach this? Like, what would you recommend? You know, he's still receiving mentorship after like 12 years in the industry. So yeah, it's so important to speak to different people and learn about people's different experiences and stuff. And it's actually genuinely been a delight watching my partner work his hardest to make sure that he is the only white man on his team, and seeing him learn so much from his team. It's been amazing. Umi, hi! Umi and Uni, both of you having like the same length name and the same color with a very similar first word, throws me off every time. Yeah, Reclaimer, honestly, he'll tell me something and I'll be like, yep, I know. I am a woman. I am bisexual, you know? And it's been, because like, in the same way that we were saying when we were chatting with Han and Kay, like, surrounding yourself with diverse people with diverse viewpoints and experiences and backgrounds and whatever makes for diverse conversation and helps you learn, which is so important. So important. So yeah. Hi, Umi. Yeah, there's only so much that one person can provide to others, so surround yourself with as many different people as you can. And there's something to be said for it being don't just do it like you're collecting Pokemon. Diverse people, marginalized people are not Pokemon. You don't have like a sticker book where you can like find them all, you know. Make genuine connections with people, learn about people's life experiences, listen to people when they speak, you know. Find out about the things that bother them, the things that they struggle with, find out about the things that bring them joy, the things that make them feel comfortable, the things that they find peace in, you know. Like, don't have binders full of women. Wow. Do it because you truly care about learning from them. Exactly. I say this all the time on my streams, that I'm so lucky to be surrounded by so many incredible people in the content creation space, and it only inspires me to do better with encouraging other people to do the same thing. You've never heard it put that way? What? Which bit? Which bit? Pokemon? Yeah. Some people will be like, oh, well, I have, you know, in the same way where it's like, oh, I have a gay friend. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. You're not out to collect them all, and like, it's very transparent when people do that. Like, at the end of the day, marginalized folks we are still people. You know, we still want to be, in the same way that we were discussing, like, when it's nice to have representation in games where a character is not, their entire story is not defined by their identity, it's just a facet of it. That's what real people are. Spoilers, that's what real people are. You know? And the more you can connect with people that are more diverse, the more you can learn from folks and hear their experiences and things, the better. Oh, really? Really, Rox? So yeah, like, I don't want to be defined by my sexuality. I'd rather people get to know me and then realize that I'm queer and learn about my experiences through just being an acquaintance, a friend, a colleague, a peer, you know, a community member. It's, yeah. It's important that, this is why, again, I feel like I'm going in circles, but this is why it's so important to see representation in media, to see different people in media, whether it's games, books, TV, you know. It's so important to have different aspects of representation, because people can then learn about these aspects of people's identities. Like, one thing, I watched Midnight Mass recently, and I know that they worked really hard on that to make Muslim practices not a core part of their characters, but also a very prominent part of the narrative. So it wasn't like it was this big song and dance, this big routine, this big, like, you know, spectacle. It was something that was a as religion is, a very core part of their being and a very big motivator for them. But it was also just something that was just, it was just there. Like, it wasn't a, it wasn't represented as a bad thing or a good thing. It was a very neutral part of the story. Whereas the Christianity aspects that were explored in Midnight Mass were more dramatized, were more caricatured to an extent, because it's not necessarily, Christianity is depicted very frequently in Western media, right? So yeah. My only cis straight male friend I'm always really proud of. From hanging out with me, he's been made more aware of so many issues and stuff that he never considered or realized was a problem before. And now I'll talk to him and I'll hear him making observations and points out that I would have made myself, points that I would have made myself. And it makes my heart so happy to see him grow and work towards being an inclusive person. I love that. I love that. That's the part I wish more people would get. My sexuality and gender identity is just a part of who we are. Yeah. Yep. I haven't seen Midnight Mass. It's so good. It's so, so good. It's a really fascinating exploration into identity, into people feeling like they need to be accepted. So it definitely had very queer undertones, which I really liked. And I know that I can't remember the name of the director, but the previous thing that he did, Bly Manor, I know that that is very gay, and I know that Haunting of Hill House is also gay-ish. There is not so subtle queer stuff in Hill House. But yeah, Midnight Mass is without spoiling anything, it's about a church, so maybe don't watch it if you are in any way if you feel uncomfortable about church stuff. It made me uncomfortable at points, and I went to a Christian school. I went to a church school, but even though I'm not religious, I went to a church school. It's a very interesting examination of the lengths that people will go to for religion, but from a perspective of the largest religious group in the US, I think, which is why it was so fascinating. And it's about, like, not being accepted and trying to fit in and maybe hiding certain aspects of yourself, or denying yourself certain things, or denying aspects of yourself to conform, and what happens when you break that conformity. So it is great. It's really good. Conversely, my sexuality and gender identity is part of who I am. I'm more than just a non-binary person. Yeah. It's both a core part of who you are and not your defining feature. you know? I would much rather that people like focused on my achievements or my career or my friendliness or warmth or whatever, or my, I don't know, I look at other people and I don't see people in terms of I find there's nothing worse when somebody responded to one of my Instagram stories the other day where I shared something about how LGBTQIA plus content is being censored for children, and how like sexuality is a thing that is brought into our lives from such an early age, but you're not allowed to be anything but straight, right? So I shared that on my Instagram stories of it being like this is not okay, basically, and that like queer rights are human rights and trans rights are human rights, you know, what feels like it should be not a problem. And somebody responded to me saying, "You're so brave for sharing this." It's like, no, I'm not. This is basic human rights. And the fact that people see people's identities and people's sexualities as something to be like something that they're brave about sharing feels so wrong to me. It feels so backwards. So your sexuality and your gender identity is both such a core part of you, but also it's no different to your career path or your capability to do sports or whether or not you can cook really well. You know, it's something that is inherently you and should be celebrated, but not in a way that it's weird. If I didn't have to worry about my safety and the safety of community members, I'd talk way less about being trans. Yeah, and it's something that I like. We had a discussion about this on stream yesterday because I was asked why I use the descriptor queer for myself and not why don't I say I'm a bisexual woman. And it's because I try to be as neutral as I can be, and also that's a label that I'm comfortable with, in the same way that I try to use partner, and I try to use gender inclusive language with in terms of like describing bodies and stuff. I say that I am queer because for me, the fact that I'm bisexual doesn't make a difference. I could be bi, I could be pan, you know, there's nothing in my mind, there's nothing particularly special about being bisexual. I just would rather folks know that I am queer, and it's up to them if they want to engage with that or if they want to leave because of that. Like, you know, also personally for me, queer is less personal. I don't need to tell people my exact identities all the time. Exactly. And like, it then starts to go into the kind of aspects of it being like, well, is your identity something that is not seen all that often? You know, is it something that is, or is it something that is very obvious for you, or very obvious when people see you or talk to you, and something that you would like to share so that people don't misgender you, so that people don't make assumptions about you based on your appearance, on your voice, on your labels, on your pronouns, you know? It's then a question of comfort, isn't it? And I've learned so much from my community and my stream team and the folks that I've met in the streaming space about how to navigate those kinds of things. And it was one thing that I asked, and will be asking everyone that appears on these panels, is like, what labels are you comfortable with sharing? Because some people might have all these different aspects of their identity that they have labeled themselves with, or other people have labeled them with, that they might not be super comfortable with. And it like, I would much rather people self-describe in a way that makes them happy than me be like, oh, well, are you tick box, tick box, tick box, you know, so that it can be like, well, I've, you know, collected the Pokemon. You know, I would much rather people self-describe and choose how they put themselves forwards and what they're comfy discussing, as opposed to me being like, well, you're trans and I want to talk about you being trans, you know, like, if you don't want to talk about being trans, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. I want to hear about what you are joyful about, the things that you are proud of, you know, the ways in which you've succeeded. That's what I want to focus on, not like interrogating you about your identity, you know? So yeah. And like, I said this on stream again yesterday, I said this on stream that like, it really breaks my heart that people feel like they have to use certain labels or certain pronouns to please other people or to avoid being misgendered. And that they would much rather go with a certain pronoun set or a certain identity, but they know that if they do, they're going to run into more problems and more people misgendering them and more people making assumptions about their identity. And, you know, that sucks. That really sucks that people feel like they need to use certain labels to be more comfortable, when in actual fact they'd be happier with others. And I just really hope we reach a point where that's not a thing, you know? But I'm very proud of the fact that people feel like they can be themselves in my spaces, or I hope that people feel like they can be themselves in my spaces. This is another thing, I try not to make assumptions. You know, try not to assume stuff. But yeah. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap up because I need to eat. I haven't eaten yet, and the boy needs to be walked. Hey, Kubo, you wanna go for a walk soon? You can't see, his little ears went from being sleepy ears to like upright like this. Yeah, we'll go soon. He's been a very good boy. But yes, if you have enjoyed yourselves here and you are not already a member of my community, you can find me on all platforms at elliejoypanic, as you can see right here. Oh, my stomach's growling now I've mentioned food. So yeah, you can find me everywhere at elliejoypanic. I will be live on my channel fundraising for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, I'm doing, what am I doing? Spyro Reignited tomorrow and Friday, and then Fall Guys with Crowd Control on Saturday, raising money for the It Gets Better project. Please also check out my lovely team, Cosmic Hearts, who are doing amazing things for this organization all week, all month. I'm so unbelievably proud of them. I believe we hit $8,500 raised, which is phenomenal. Let me check. Whoa, we're at 9,500? Wow. Anyway, yeah, please check them all out. They are incredible. They are absolutely phenomenal human beings. What the heck? $9,500. Wow. Ah. I'm so proud. I'm like a proud mama. But yes, make sure to check out everybody's streams from Cosmic Hearts. Every time I open the page, I get jump scared by the green bar. Yes. And yeah, I will see you back here for streams, ambassador streams, mid-July. I think it's the I want to say the 25th is my next one, 25th of July. But yeah, I will hopefully catch you all on my channel soon. Hi Plasma, we're actually just finishing up, but it's lovely to see you. There will be more ambassador streams on this channel soon. I'm not sure when the next one is, but there's so much content going out on this channel, is stacked. But yeah, Make sure to drop a follow on this channel if you'd like to catch more Ambassador streams, and over on my channel if you want to catch more of my streams. And yes, I will see you all soon. Have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining. It was lovely seeing you all. Thank you again for the amazing questions. And I will catch you all soon. Take care. Bye.